Today we're going to talk about similar figures and how we can look at two figures to see if they are similar. If you'll remember from our notes, we talked about how similar figures have the same shape, but usually they're resized. So they're a different size, but they look the same. And they have to have, in order to be similar, they have to have angles that are equal, the corresponding angles are equal, and the corresponding sides are proportional. So when we talk about corresponding angles, we're talking about if we're looking at the two shapes, in this case we have two rectangles, and the corresponding angles would be those angles, this angle would correspond with this angle. So angle W corresponds with angle G. Angle X corresponds with angle H. Angle Y corresponds with angle I. And angle Z corresponds with angle J. They're in the same position of that shape. And so if you notice, all four of the angles, because it's a rectangle, all four of them are right angles. All four of these are right angles. So each corresponding angle is equal. And the other thing they have to be similar is they have to have sides that are corresponding. The corresponding sides need to be in proportion. And the way that we can check that is we look at the sides that are labeled. In this case, we have the length and the width of each rectangle is labeled. And we want to set up a proportion that helps us figure out if the sides are proportional. And what I would like for you to do anytime you're setting up the proportion is not only to put the numbers in proportion form, but also you're going to write, so we have two ratios, but I also want you to write a word ratio. So before your ratio of numbers, you're going to create a ratio with words. So in this case, you're going to say, and it doesn't really matter which order, you're just going to decide what order. If we want to do width over length or short side over long side, whatever it's going to take for you to remember, I'm going to write short side over long side. And that will help you remember. You don't have to worry about which is the length and which is the width. So for each rectangle, we're going to write the short side over the long side, and then for the other one, short side over long side. So we set up the ratio for the first rectangle. Short side is 9 over the long side, which is 12. And then the second rectangle, short side is 3, long side is 4. And we can either look at these and know that we have two equivalent fractions, so they are proportional, or we can go ahead and cross multiply to show that the cross products are equal. They will be equal if these two are proportional. And so we do the cross products. 9 times 4 is 36. And we want to see if that's equal. We're going to put an equal sign with a question mark. So 9 times 4 is 36. 12 times 3 is 36. So they actually are equal to each other. And so we know that, yes, these two rectangles are similar. And one thing that we can write is rectangle WXYZ. We're going to name it going around in one direction. WXYZ is, I should have written this going across, but this is the symbol for similar. It's kind of like a backwards sideways S, is similar to rectangle. And now I have to get those corresponding angles. I have to do it in the right order. So WXYZ, so I'm going to do GHIJ. And I'm doing that order only because that's the order with those corresponding sides, not because of the letters of the alphabet. GHIJ. So yes, rectangle WXYZ is similar to rectangle GHIJ, and that's because the corresponding angles are equal and the corresponding sides are proportional. So those are similar rectangles. The second thing that you need to know about these similar figures, if we know that we have similar figures, we also can determine the angle measurements based on the corresponding angles. So in this case, I'm telling you here that the trapezoids are similar. So trapezoid A, B, C, D is similar to, again, we have to go in the same order. So we're looking at those corresponding sides. Trapezoid A, B, C, D is similar to trapezoid E, H, G, F. And the reason that I have to do them in that order, H, G, F, we don't necessarily do them in alphabetical order. We're going to do them in the same order so that I can look at what corresponds. So angle A corresponds with angle E. Angle B corresponds with angle H because it's second. And I also know that side AB corresponds with side EH. So I need to write those points in the same order that the original trapezoid was written. And the other thing I can do with this similarity, these two similar trapezoids, is I can determine the missing angle measurements. So here I know that these two angles are 70, they're both equal, which means that the corresponding angles in the larger trapezoid are also the same. So 70, angle E must also be 70 degrees. And angle D corresponds with angle F, which means that that is also 70 degrees. And then angle H corresponds with angle B, which means that must be 110 degrees. And angle G corresponds with angle C, which means it's also 110 degrees. And another thing you could do is, of course, in a quadrilateral, all the angles should add up to 360 degrees, which if you check these, they do. 110 plus 70 is 180, and then 180 plus 180 is 360. So we have two similar trapezoids. Those corresponding angles are going to be equal. And I name the figure based on the vertices. This vertex A, B, C, D in that order goes with E, H, G, F. And that is how we work with similar figures.